I'm here to discuss Remodel Your Lifestyle, and I will refer to it as RAL throughout the presentation, but I wanted to discuss my journey with you. So, my first one is, many have or will go through this, and those that have will agree, right? It's an altering life event. So my daughter started her senior year last year, and I came to the realization and understanding that, wow, this is her last prom. Wow, this is her last homecoming dance, right? So this is her last soccer game in this stadium that I was in. And it's kind of like being a mom, right? We place ourselves last. So I had a heart-to-heart with myself. I found myself, over 20 years of age. I know, that's not too funny, but I was overweight, and I was starting to feel the effects of an unhealthy lifestyle. So what inspired me to take this journey? The realization of how quickly time passes while you're raising your children. You're still learning about life. You're still gaining wisdom. The relationship goes from being a parent to being a friend. And along the way, I lost track of myself. I lost track of my health and my goals. It was time to put myself as a priority. See one, do one, and teach one. Well, remodeling. So, let's go back a second. So I came into a crossroad, and at this point I realized I wanted to be as healthy as possible for as long as possible for my kids and someday my grandchildren. That is when I started searching for a serious solution to my current situation. I came across RYL, and it is a serious solution. It's not a Band-Aid, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle change. So I joined RYL. It is not a teacher-student relationship, it's a journey, and you're taking it with others who have been there and in your shoes. They're there to help inspire you, to reach down and to pull the next person up, just like my mentor did for me. See one, do one, teach one. So remodeling. It's not a diet, as I said, and it's not a quick way to lose weight. It's a program to assist you in remodeling your lifestyle. Remodeling. So when you remodel a room in your house, that's actually my bathroom, just to let you know that. Let's say a bathroom. What's the first thing you look at, or what do you ask yourself? What do I want to change? What do I want to improve? Well, just like remodeling a room, it's the same question you ask yourself when you join RYL. What do I want to change, or what do I want to improve? Well, like most people, when it comes to remodeling a bathroom, I don't know how to tile. I don't know anything about plumbing, or let alone electricity. So I would need to call a carpenter, a plumber, and an electrician to have a successful remodel. Sure, I could use YouTube. That's going to take twice as long, right? RAL gives you the professional contractors that you need. It gives you that therapist. It gives you that personal trainer. And it gives you the mentor. And that's the end product, just to let you know, just to share that. So, joining Remodel Your Lifestyle. I wanted to talk for a moment about my mentor. And her name is Chris Schaefer, and most of you know her. And I want to talk about all the times that we did meet, and we would walk in the basement, and we would not only talk about the accomplishments that we had, but she was also there to listen and talk about the moments that the scale didn't meet the number that I expected it to meet. She gave me that determination and that great, strong support. And for that, thank you, Chris. Also, you get to meet with a dietitian. And Janaea, who I see is here, thank you, assisted me with lots of food options. She taught me not to beat myself up. She taught me about packing my lunches and what to pack for my lunches and what are good alternatives for food, and also meal planning. And for that, thank you, Janaea. I got to meet with Janelle. Wow. What an incredible and uplifting person. She found her calling, and if it's not for her, then she was sent for me. She's supportive, she's caring, she's loving, she's strong, and she's a plethora of knowledge. And she definitely kept me on track. And for that, thank you,
You're
Janelle.
welcome, sweetie.
Next is the Sleep Lab. This is new to the RYL program, and I found it very interesting, and this was Danielle. And from my understanding, Danielle went through the program also of RYL. And incredible. They gave you tips for preparing for sleeping. You wouldn't think it's important, but actually it is. And it sounds silly, but it is very true. And it's a great addition to the program. Last but definitely not least was meeting with EAP. What an amazing resource. At first, I didn't care. I thought, well, we'll just go through this and whatever, it'll be fine. No, but I have to tell you, they help you find the habits of eating. Are you a snack eater? Well, I found out I was a movie eater. I love to watch movies, and I like to snack while I eat the movies, or watch the movies. So I would go in there and I would talk until I found my aha moment. Stacy sat there the whole time, just listening. I'm the one that found it. I just kept talking and talking and talking. Hard to believe. So I highly recommend EAP, even if you are not utilizing RYL. So, finding Rachel. If you haven't asked yourself this question yet at some point in your life, you probably will. Everybody here will come to a point of a serious reckoning with themselves and ask that ageless question. What's new? You know, what now? I got so busy doing for everyone else, I forgot to ask myself, what now? What are my interests? What are my hobbies? What will my legacy be? Where am I going to teach? And what am I going to teach my grandchildren someday? So I started to get a little busy. I actually started taking piano lessons. I'm at the kindergarten level. I am watching these young people on level 3 just blast through the piano. But you know what? I'm doing it. This right here, I started doing pottery. That's a Picasso, I want you to know that. And I do call that pencil holder. Okay? And I did use YouTube for that also. My husband and I actually took up kayaking. Never done it before. And I also took up cross-country skiing. These new hobbies, along with RYL, have helped me improve my courage and my confidence. So I had to find that me time again, and that's what I did. Joining RYL was my first solid step in truly placing myself as a priority again. I deserve to be a priority, so I started setting goals. So this program for me was a vehicle to a healthier, happier life. I wanted to decrease my blood pressure, and I did. I wanted to lose weight, and I did. I wanted to reduce stress, and I am. I wanted to eat healthier, and I am. I wanted to work out, and I do. I wanted to complete this program successfully, and I did. I didn't want to lose sight of my goals. The days I don't want to get out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning, you know what? I have to remember that I am a priority. I do matter, and my health does matter, and goals don't get met by themselves. Which led me to eating healthier. I started preparing my lunches ahead of time, eating carrots in place of chips. And we know how much I enjoy the family-sized red bag of Doritos, but I realized I only needed that crunch factor. And this is where Janaea came in and reminded me, it's okay. You can have some Doritos if you want. You're not on a diet. You're remodeling your lifestyle. And it's same with going for ice cream with your family. I'm not going to miss out on that opportunity, and I'm going to enjoy it. But let's do it in moderation. So these are a few things what RYL has taught me. To celebrate the victories no matter how small. Don't discount the importance of a victory. The number on the scale does not define who you are. Don't be so hard on yourself. It's a lifestyle change, not a diet. And I have to stress that enough. Remember yourself, you're important, and to keep moving forward. It's not easy, but it's easier now than when I started. It has taught me everyone is important. Your goals, your dreams, no matter how big or small they are, don't set them aside. Chase them. Make them a reality. The knowledge I received from RYL has been lifelong changing. I'm in a healthier, happier journey that will always have its challenges. I was once taught when learning, you should first see one. I watched Chris Schaefer and Gretchen Rawls change their lives, and that inspired me. You should do one. I went through the RYL program myself, and you should teach one. And that is why I'm here to share my journey. Take a moment with yourself and reflect. Are there some changes you'd like to make? Are there some changes you need to make? Thank you.
You're gonna go, yep, that's me. Perfect, and by the way, I congratulate you all, because of your outlook and your perspective on life is you don't really need to listen to me today. But what I ask you to do is, and I mean this, I'm just looking at all these faces that I talk to and deal with every day, and I could call you all out by name, every one of you. That's why you're successful. That's why you do what you do, because you come to work, you deal with your family, you deal with difficult matters in a positive way. All right. And so, are you happy? I bet you if we send an email out today, maybe I should do that today. Ignition all. Are you happy?
It's gonna blow up.
Trust me, it happens. There's times, I get a lot of stuff. It'd be interesting to know what that is. I bet you, I don't know, and I've got behavioral health people in here, which makes me nervous because I'm gonna make some behavioral health comments which have no science or anything behind them. They're just my personal beliefs. So Ed, you can poke holes in all these things, right? But I bet you about 50% of the associates at Ignition Healthcare, soon to become employees again, by the way, would say they're not happy. I'm just guessing. It's just the way the world works, right? We don't like politics, we don't this, that, and the other. So what defines happiness? I know what most people would say. Boom. 911 Carrera. Anybody got one in the room? Pretty cool car, fun, fast, right? Then some, no, cars aren't good. I just need the mansion with the slides and the infinity pool backed up on 42 acres in Wautoma, Wisconsin, and life would be good. Trust me, would anybody not want that? Seriously, that brings happiness. It does. Dr. DeGear would want the designer suit. By the way, I told Dr. DeGear he met his match. Dr. Mark Thompson was here, who is the CMO for SSM Medical. He's a pretty impeccable dresser. He had the coolest shoes. We got to find out where he got those, by the way. The reverse double buckle. It was pretty cool. Designer suit. Okay, great. That's going to feel good for about 3 times you wear it, and then you're going to go, oh, I saw Dr. DeGear. He had that one. I want that one, right? And then, oh, you know what? A trip to Paris that's going to bring me happiness forever, right? And the reality is, all we need is a bigger paycheck. By the way, today's payday. It's awesome. All I need is, if I could just get 50 cents more an hour. And if I only made this much more. Right? I hear it all the time. Many of your associates that work with you send me an email and want me to solve their fiscal issues and their challenges, right? So here's reality. I have a few things that are important to me. And I'm telling you right now, I don't care how much money you have, how fast your cars are, how many trips you go on, etc. It doesn't bring happiness. I lived in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, in one of the richest counties in this country. Teton County, Wyoming. Google it. It's probably in the top 5 most wealthy counties in the country. Tons of people there with tons of money. My son came home one afternoon and he said, "Hey, Dad, can I go to the University of Wyoming basketball game tomorrow?" And I said, one, Laramie's 5.5 hours away from Jackson Hole. And I said, when are you going? How are you getting there? And you've got school the next day, da 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 da. And he said, no. They're playing Kansas, in Kansas. I'm like, oh, great for you. Good luck. No. My friend's dad is flying us down that day and we'll be back by about 10:30 that night. He's 10 years old. So, private jet. Cool. That'll bring happiness, right? No. I have seen more dysfunctionality, more chaos, more social problems in extremely wealthy families than I have anywhere else in the world. Wealth, material items, and so on. And by the way, I like my material items as well. And I make more money than anybody in this room. I know that for a fact. It's important to me. But it doesn't bring me happiness. What brings me happiness is I go home at night and have a wonderful conversation with my wife last night about this, that, and the other. My son text messages me and says he's looking forward to coming home for Christmas. And my buddy, Dean Ty, anybody know Dean Ty in this room? Oh, Kate, yikes. My buddy Dean Ty sent me a note saying, "Hey, what do you got going on Friday night? Why don't you stop over for a beer?" That's what brings me happiness. Relationships, right? Love. I know a lot of rich people that don't have love in their life, whether it be in a personal relationship with another person, or with their family, or with their friends. All right, you guys know this. Why is Thanksgiving so special to every one of you? Because you get together with your friends and family and you spend special moments and you don't have to exchange gifts and all those good things, right? Love and relationships define happiness, all right? And so we have to work at that. So, easier said than done. Okay, Steve, I have no family in the state. I have my son Sean is in Madison, but I don't have any other family in the state. Okay, my parents are in Florida, my mother-in-law is in Arizona. I have a small family. My sister's a wacko. She lives in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I'm not kidding you, by the way. And by the way, socioeconomics define stability, and people with a lot of money have no problems. Want to bet? I would tell you that people with money typically have more issues within their own family. And every single family has issues. I don't care who you are. Don Vandenberg, are you in this room? You know? Miss Spirituality was telling me a story before she went to Thanksgiving about her brother. Craziness, right? Everybody's got issues within their family. I don't care. It's life. It's human life, right? So easier said than done. So we need to work and maintain building our relationships. And what does that mean? That means we reach out and we do things that people are not expecting us to do. That we say hello in the hallway. I'm sure she was a nurse or a CNA or something that I exchanged in the hallway, in the staircase the other day as I was going up to see a patient. And she barely could get out of her mouth, hello or look at me. Right? She wasn't doing much to develop a relationship with me. But many of you do in this room because I know you and I know how you interact. Gretchen, maybe not so much. She's shy. But, you know, we have to work at developing relationships. It's uncomfortable for many of you. Not for me because I'm very social, and but for some it's very awkward and it doesn't feel right. So we have to work at that, all right? Oh my gosh, this is a tough one for me. I try to be forgiving. And, you know, it's a Christian principle of which I try to live my life by, and by far, I am not, and many of you know this better than some, I'm not perfect at this. But forgiving and forgetting is important. And I'll tell you a personal story. My dad, I think I bring my dad up a lot in this, right? We have this very strange relationship. But my dad belittled me so bad when I tried to take his license away. It's been almost 2.5, it'll be 3 years ago, that I basically said, you know what, I'm done dealing with him. That's it. No more. So I literally did not talk to him for probably 6 months, 7 months, and then when he would call, it'd be short and brief, maybe 30 seconds. I could not forgive him, ever, for what he said to me after I was trying to do something to protect his health and his safety. It's unbelievable. By the way, still driving today. If you're in Fort Myers, Florida, you might want to give me a call and let me know when you're going to be on the roads, because if you're on the roads at the same time he is, it's a disaster. But some battles are worth fighting. But finally, my parents, I flew them back to Wisconsin during Irma because they live in Fort Myers, yeah? And he and I sat down on the couch one afternoon and we finally reconciled that, and I finally forgave him. And today, I will tell you, I usually talk to my dad about once a week. And while I still am hurt from what he said to me, I've gotten past it and I realize that it's my only father. So you gotta forgive and forget, all right? For the betterment of your health, if you carry baggage around, like Dr. Clark Searle carries, you guys know what I'm talking about. Maybe you don't. We can talk about that over coffee. All right? This one is not, I don't do this. Doesn't happen. I'm going to tell you exactly what's on my mind, and I'm going to tell you exactly straight up what it's about. And I tell you what, it gets me in trouble all the time. Bite your tongue every once in a while. And by the way, you remember, I tell you these things because it's a great reminder for me. I'm serious. You got to bite your tongue every once in a while. You got to be truthful and honest and straightforward, and you got to deal with people appropriately. But sometimes you just got to bite your tongue. It's not worth going there, right? I'm not good at this. I did tell Kelly the other night that her hair looked good after she got it cut. She said, are you serious? And I'm like, because usually it's in a cynical way. But tell the people that are close to you something that they don't expect to hear from you. It helps you build those relationships, right? And trust. So what's self-confidence? Rachel, you talked about it. Prior to going through this, would you have felt comfortable coming up here and speaking in front of 55 to 65 people?
No, I don't think so. Not at where I was at that point in my life. No.
Self-confidence. Okay, for you to be happy, you've got to develop some level of self-confidence in who you are and what you represent and so forth. Okay? You all have phenomenal gifts that can better other people, can better you, better your family, etc. You have them. They're within you. We're all unique humans. We have those things, okay? Self-confidence is the energy and belief that you have in yourself, that you use your skills, knowledge, and special abilities towards the goals you set in life. You can achieve whatever you set your mind to. Amen. Chris? Heidi? Rachel? Okay, easy to say. So, set goals. And this isn't, I'm going to run a marathon tomorrow, or I'm going to quit eating Doritos, or I'm going to lay off full-bodied Coca-Cola, or I'm going to quit drinking alcohol. Are you kidding me? It ain't going to happen. I told you guys, this is being recorded, right? I'll refrain from that one. So set some realistic goals for yourself, all right? So my realistic goal, and no New Year's stuff. I mean, if you want to do the New Year's stuff, great. But that doesn't. It's constantly setting goals for yourself. I need to lose 10 pounds. I'm not kidding you. Through this SSM thing, I've loaded up, and I need to get after it, right? So set goals for yourself. Financially, live within your means, all right? And you're like, dang, I can't do that. Yeah, you can. Yes, you can. And I won't go into that. Spiritually, wake up in the morning, whatever floats your boat spiritually. Look at the trees, look at the birds, pray, whatever it may, whatever. Emotionally, set goals. I do not want to get angry like I did last night at 8:30, and Dr. Schmidt was my witness. I said BS to Dr. Bert Steffes when I did, didn't I? It really ticked me off, and he pushed my button. probably not the best thing to do. I went home and I went, I wish I hadn't said that. Okay. Intellectually, set some goals to improve yourself. Gain some knowledge of this. I've been trying to learn Spanish for about the last 10 years, and I get about halfway through it, and then I go, I get on to something else. Set something to improve yourself intellectually, okay? Failure's all right. You're not going to get all these things, right? You didn't probably get all your goals, Rachel. Me either, right? It's okay. And if I could say anything, you got to find a purpose in life. Something that gets you up in the morning that's important to you. Okay, so I have a couple purposes in life. One of my purposes in life is to help you live better lives. It is probably number one of my goals, is to influence you so that you can, and I love doing these talks, all right? If I could make a living doing this, I would. But the most important determinants of happiness, okay, all those things matter. What is it?
Being content with what we have.
Pretty fair about that. So Janelle said being content with what we have, right? Always striving to do more good, achieve, but being thankful for what we have is important, and realizing that we got to So that's a great lead into this. I tell you what, the last year of my life has not been good from an emotional standpoint, etc. And you should not feel sorry for me. You shouldn't. Because I have an incredible life. I have a great family. I'm surrounded by great friends. I have financial resources, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But there are some days when I was going through this SSM thing where, and some of the people in this room know because they live with me, not literally, but they live with me in the work setting and have to put up with me. And I was the most miserable human being in the world because I was not happy with how things were coming down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But really, Steve Little, and then I'd wake up and I go, damn it, snap out of this. Come on. It's going to be okay. You got a job, et cetera, at least for a while. So this is what I would say is one of the most significant things in happiness in your life. Right, Diane? You don't have your health. Okay? Who's in control of your health? The doctor is, right? No, he's not. You all know, and I'd like to go on for days about this, but many of you in this room know this. You're in control of your health. 80% of the things that happen in health are attributed to your lifestyle. 80%. 20%? No. So, I'll use my dear friend, Steve Peterson, who sits in our ICU right now. And he's okay because I went up and talked to him yesterday. Who knows Steve Peterson in this room? Former CEO of Giddings & Lewis, former CEO of Mid-States Aluminum. If you saw him, you'd go, healthiest guy in the world. Just had open heart Tuesday afternoon. Why? Physically, thin, attractive, wonderful looking man. Never think of it. Guess what? Didn't eat right, didn't exercise. Granted, some of that's probably genetic. I bet you that 20% affects him a little bit. But if he had exercised a little bit more, he could at least maybe mitigated the fact of the calcium and cholesterol that built up in his artery. He admitted it. His wife admitted it. He needs to be more active, all right? You're in control of your health. I ask you today to take steps to control and better your health through emotional, physical, nutritional, and spiritual, all right? Do that for me. You're all an inspiration to me. I thank you. I wish you a Merry Christmas. It's a blessing for me to work with you. Not sure what the future holds, and don't feel sorry for me, by the way. I'm well protected, and I will land somewhere. But I look forward to the journey with you as to whatever that means. And have a great Christmas, and remember what the purpose of the season is for, right?
So some pretty tough acts to follow this morning. So hopefully we can tie it all together, and you can see that we have a similar theme. So joy in work. So joy and happiness. Oh, do I have to use it? Do I have to use it?
Yeah.
Shoot. Okay, anyway, so joy in work is in what we're
happiness, incredibly important, right? So all around, joy in work is also important. And so you've seen this a million times, and you see that you is in the middle. Which one is it? Yeah, right there, just like Steve said. So we know that we're in control of all of these things. But let's talk about something that's not just your average wellness program. So this summer we had the opportunity to work with the Medical Society, and we were able to do this leadership program that was an on-site rendition of a leadership program that was done at the Medical Society called Leading Healthy Work Systems. And so it's based in industrial engineering and all of these theories about how to define healthy work. And we in healthcare are set up to fail. I mean, if you think about the way our work is designed, we are really in trouble. And so there's one particular diagram that I want to go through, and I'm going to use it pretty much throughout the whole entire talk, because it's called the stress-strain process. And so it's going to explain why we're frustrated and why we're in certain situations, and we can hopefully put it all together in about 10 minutes. So this comes from Kathy Sanders, who is our industrial engineer that developed the program, and she really ties it all together nicely, because the blue sections are really what is work design and what makes healthy work. Our green is our wellness, so this is our own perceptions, our own resiliency, and then the pink, it doesn't really look pink, but it's actually pink, is coping. So of course we have healthy and unhealthy coping mechanisms. And then this orange is all the medical stuff, so we'll go through them one by one. So stress. So we have lots of stress, right? So we have all different types of stress. We have physical stress, health stressors, we have emotional stress, we have financial stressors. I mean, we have a lot of stuff going on, right? It's the holidays, we have a lot of stress. Here, right now, we're going through a pretty major transition, right? And so is anybody stressed? Hopefully not, well, yeah, I mean, we can be honest about it, right? And so change is hard. And so there's this great theory that we learned about, and it just so happened to be that the week we were reading about this was the day after, actually, that it was announced that we were being transferred to SSM. And so imagine this group of, there are about 25 of us, half of us administrators, half of us physicians, and reading all about change and transition. And so this is a model by William Bridges, and it actually talks about how there's a difference between change and a difference between transition. So change is something external. It's like flipping the switch and the light is on, right? But just because the light is on doesn't mean that we're all ready for the light to be on, right? And so when you look at this, what transition is more internal, more psychological, philosophical, spiritual. This is something that all of us are going to go through at different rates and different times. And as you can tell from this model, not everybody will make it through. So this is very important. And what I really was happy to see the other day when Damon was here, when he talked about that closing ceremony or whatever he ended up naming it, but the fact that we have to mourn the loss of what we have. We have a great thing here. We have a great system, great people, really great care. We do really wonderful work, and we need to make sure that we go through that step of grieving the loss of that. Not because we're not happy, not because we're not willing to move on, not because we're trying to put our heels in the ground and say we're going to be stubborn, but because it's just natural. It's really part of those 5 stages of grief. And some people will move through it pretty quickly. Some people won't move through it at all, okay? And so think about that when you're looking at your colleagues and maybe somebody's really struggling, that they're really just looking for a little maybe extra assistance in that ending and letting go. The neutral zone is kind of where some of us already are, some of us aren't. As we think that we're going to do okay, we're accepting it, we're moving on a little bit, we're still kind of mourning a little bit, but we're not unhappy, we're not ready to leave or pack up our bags. And then we have the new beginning. Change is good, right? So change can be very good for us. It can be very, it can really be the best thing that ever happened to us, but it's hard to see that. We don't know that, right? Change can also be bad, but some of us will go through it pretty quickly, some of us won't go through it all. And so just keep this model in mind as you talk to your colleagues, you talk to your family, that when things happen to us that we're not ready for or we're not looking for, that we really do have to go through a process to get there. So he's got a great website. I can give that to you at the end if anybody's interested in it. So back to next step, individual perception and hardiness. So we all come to this world with our own background, right? So we all have our own way that we were raised. We have things that have happened to us in the past, things that, maybe certain ways that we learned to deal with stress and learned to deal with issues. And not everybody's the same, right? So trauma-informed, everybody's seen this before, right? So I'm going to be able to move through it pretty quickly. But trauma-informed care, this is something we've really been working on. We're really trying to talk a lot about. The Adverse Childhood Experience study, the fact that 2/3 of us have at least one ACE, and the fact that we are dealing with this all around us all the time. And so we all have our invisible suitcase, we all have our way that we're looking at the world, we all have the way we look at other people, we all have the way we look at ourselves. And so keeping that in mind during this whole process, when you see how somebody deals with stress really well and somebody doesn't deal with it very well. And so we just need to keep this assumption that looking around the room, there's probably at least some of us that are struggling. This is our ACE tree that we use, that we have our experiences and our background and our upbringing, and then also our environment. And so with all of the different things that are happening with our social determinants of health and how that's also impacting us. So this is attachment. So I'm sure you've seen this one too, so I can go through it pretty quickly, but we have the response system. When you have a responsive parent, baby's crying, mom responds, they can recognize it, baby learns to deal with stress, and their overall stress rate's down here. But then you have those that didn't have responsive parenting, didn't have that person that was loving them and really helping them, and they were maybe living in this really stressful situation always growing up, and they're already here. So if 2/3 of us have a history of trauma and 2/3 of us are sitting here, we're gonna jump up pretty quickly and maybe even pop a little quicker, as Dr. Dahl says. So attachment, 60% of us have issues with attachment, meaning that we are not great with relationships. And so the relationships that are incredibly important, some of us might really struggle to make those relationships and might really struggle to really work on those relationships. And so this is just, I think, a great picture just to remind us that we need to be present. But so now we're back, and so we're going to use this as an example that we have this stressor that's happened. And there's 2 of us, and so maybe I'll use Colleen as an example. So Colleen and I are working together, and she's in one room in her cubicle, and I'm in my room in a cubicle, and we hear our boss coming down the hall. Steve's coming to tell us more work to do, right? So we hear the footsteps, and so we have this response. So we can have a really great response. So excited, I know I'm gonna get more work done. This is Colleen, she's so excited that there's more work coming, and I'm just really thrilled about it, and I can't wait to do more work. And then there's me. Like, oh my gosh, there's more work. What am I going to do about this, right? So I'm really feeling overwhelmed. And so I'm having this physiologic response to this stressor, right? So when you look at, that's the acute strain. But when you look at this next one, duration, if you can say, okay, well, I can do this because it's only for a couple hours, or it's only a couple days. Or I can do this because, it's not that long. It's just one more quick project. It's not as much as I thought it was going to be. So I do okay. Or if I am doing this over and over and over and not taking breaks and not taking care of myself and not really getting that resiliency or that exercise and the sleep, everything that we need, then we end up having health outcomes, okay? So stress, we know, is very, very, very well proven to show a major issue of part of our health issues that we're dealing with. So, depression. So depression is certainly related to stress, right? We have migraines, so migraines are miserable, and you certainly can get migraines. Chest pain, heart attacks, heart disease, stress actually increases those inflammatory markers that can cause problems with heart disease. And so we know that stress is really well documented to show these health outcomes. So how do we do anything about this? So this duration, and when we think about work design, maybe this exposure or recovery time is something we need to work on a little more. Maybe somebody the other day said something about capping PTO hours out at 390 or something. 384. And they were concerned that the next, our new employer was going to give us only 200 hours. So why do you have 384 hours of PTO? You should be going on vacation. I mean, you need to be using this PTO so that you actually can control that exposure time to this stress, so that you can actually really control your health, because you can take time off. It's okay. Okay? So, when it becomes more than stress. So this is actually the burnout stuff. So we talked a little bit about this last year when I was here. I always get to talk about the depressing stuff. But burnout is more than just stress. So burnout is when you're really starting to feel this emotional exhaustion. This is more common in women. The depersonalization, which is more common in men. So you can probably think about maybe people you know that when men get overwhelmed and start to disconnect, they disconnect and maybe get a little rude, or maybe not, they don't want to talk to people, it's just moving on, right? Whereas women just to start to get really emotional and we don't feel like we have anything left to give. That reduced sense of work-related personal accomplishment. So when we go to work, we don't feel like we're doing anything. That purpose and meaning and joy in our work is no longer evident. We don't know why we're here. We're not sure what we're doing. We just are coming and just, going through the motions, and that presenteeism, we're here, but we're not really here. The root cause, lack of control. When we can't control what we do, we don't have that autonomy in our work, then it actually can lead to decreased health, because autonomy is a human need. More regulatory burden. I mean, you guys know this, right? So we are clicking boxes everywhere and doing all these different things for the government or somebody higher than we are that we don't know how to control it. But this increased complexity of care where people are not taking care of themselves, they're showing up sicker, they just are not willing to make changes, and then just this efficiency thing. We're not efficient and we don't like that. We don't like to feel like the work that we're doing is not being done. Engagement's not a reflection of burnout. We can be very engaged, love Ignatian Healthcare, super excited about it, the biggest cheerleader, and still burnt out. Okay, so just because we're engaged and loving here doesn't mean that we love what we're doing, and we can still be struggling and not happy, okay? So risk factors for burnout that have been identified in this fancy industrial engineering literature are kind of obvious, right? So high work pace, we're always working, it never stops, we're going fast. Work pressure, meaning there's no finish line, the work is always there. And work load. Work load's a big one, because we're always trying to do all the same amount of work with fewer people, fewer bodies, fewer minds in the room, right? Low levels of autonomy, when the work is actually, you're being told what to do all the time and you have no control over that work. Like I said, it's a human need and it can affect your well-being. The poor interpersonal relationships, so this is actually with our colleagues, with our supervisors, with our patients, with our family. If we're working too much, what's going on at home. If we're not working enough, what's going on at home, right? And so keeping in mind that relationships are so equally important, not in our overall health and well-being, but in our work life as well. Poor job design, so when we are really just doing things that don't make sense, and the job is not designed to be efficient or for health, it can impact our ability to just keep doing it. And this role of the caregiver. So, we all give care. We never feel like we can have a bad day. We always come to work with a smile on our face, and we're so good at it, aren't we? Yeah. So, this helper etiquette is a concept that we can't have a good day. Can't have a bad day. And we are not human, and that's just not realistic. But it's a difference than coming to work and being, I'm not ever going to talk to anybody and not do my job and that type of thing. You can certainly, there's a fine line, because you can have a better mood if you look around you. But that's something that's a real risk factor for burnout. The other things are real stressors, just having a stressful job. Career concerns, right now, that's probably a big one, right? With we don't even know if we have a job, we don't know what our job's going to look like, we don't know whether our pay is going to change. This hopefully we know more after these forums this week. But the basics, the ergonomics and safety risk, being able to walk to the parking lot and not worry that somebody's going to be waiting behind a car and attack you. The basic things. We did not address those, and I won't really get into that now. And then this electronic performance measuring. The idea of somebody always looking over your shoulder and watching what you're doing is in and of itself a risk for burnout, because it's really stressful to have somebody always kind of nitpicky and micromanaging what you're doing, and then it's being reported publicly or to the government, and it's impacting your pay in some senses. So in healthcare, it's not a matter of if we burn out, it is when, okay? And so we in healthcare, it's the nature of the work is enough to burn us out. But vicarious trauma is the thing that we really want to make sure you keep in mind. People who take care of other people, especially people who have had a lot of trauma or stress in their lives, are at risk for trauma themselves, okay? And so making sure you recognize this, making sure you're able to just to do what you can, build in support systems with your colleagues, build in support systems outside of your colleagues, but really kind of learning to deal with the stress and nature of that work, because it is difficult. So back to our mental, physical burnout health outcome here. And so coping. So we have good coping skills and bad coping skills, right? Which ones do you think are good and which ones do you think are bad? So hopefully, these aren't the greatest coping mechanisms, so these are certainly better. The other thing I like about this is the relationships, so you're actually out and you're doing something with somebody else, because really that relationship, it all comes down to relationships. We have somebody who's supportive in our lives, we will do much better in the long haul. So resiliency. So how do we build our resiliency? And so this is incredibly important. This is what the wellness program is always trying to push and help people. But making sure we know and recognize what our own history of trauma is, making sure to know that if we're at risk for vicarious trauma, that we're reaching out to help with that, ask somebody for help. Knowing our purpose and meaning, knowing why we're here, and then having teams and knowing how you are as a leader. Maybe if you feel like you're thrown into a situation and you don't have the tools for that, reaching out and asking for help. The mindfulness is incredibly important. I actually had one of the doctors come last night to me and say, the mindfulness always seems like kind of fluff, and we never really think, that we really should be recognizing this, or when people tell doctors, at least, you're not going to be burnt out if you are mindful, it gets a little bit of a scoff. So she actually had gone to a Mayo Medical School CME, and there was a guy there who was teaching mindfulness and how important it was. And there's so much data behind mindfulness that actually does change the pathways in your brain. It actually helps you relax. And so she even said, oh, Heather, I was thinking of you when I was doing this, because this actually can work. And so it's something that it really does work. And so maybe taking advantage of the mindfulness classes that we offer here could be helpful for you. The safe place image, I think about vacation. I like to go on vacation. Vacation makes me happy. So that's what I think about. And then making sure you're laughing as much as you can. So this, you can't give what you don't have. So making sure you're reaching out, like I said, relationships, relationships, relationships. And this is my very favorite quote. People start to heal the moment they feel heard. I use it now in every talk. I think it's so incredibly true that when we look around us and we see people that might be hurting, if you just ask them how their day is, they might not unload on you. You might not have to worry about all of that, but they might say, wow, somebody cared enough about me that they asked. And that could change the whole trajectory of their day or their week or their year, okay? And so, and just listening, validating their feelings. And then if they need help, more help than you know how to give, it's okay. You can ask for help to get them help, okay? So we have plenty of resources around here that we can really help people get there. And it's really important to create your own safety network, and so that you have that group that you know you can go to. And so whether that's in your department or outside of your department, or even outside of work, just have that group, okay? So protective factors listed here, I'm not gonna go and over them even more because we're in the interest of time. And then next steps, we're trying to really incorporate some of this work smart stuff, this meaning and joy in our life into this, into what we're doing from this point forward. And so I don't have a lot of time to talk about this now, but we're doing some pilots, some joy in work now, one in the lab, and then hoping to do some more in the future. So there's your program. Oh, good news. Because we think social and emotional health is so incredibly important, EAP offers all these wonderful classes, and you will get points towards your scorecard, correct? So 5 points if you invite them into your department, and you participate in one of these programs, you can use points because we think it's so incredibly important for you. This is the joy in work. I'm not going to go through this because we don't have time, but this is something that you're hopefully going to see more of in the next couple months. And then this is just a quote that I will leave you with. So, a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. So, thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
Fine, I'll let you do it. All
we don't have a lot of time, but we're going to do a, perfect, right? So we're going to do a little quick infomercial about maybe the frequently asked questions or different things that, and a comment, as Zach alluded to.
There's one comment.
There is one comment in here, but there are frequently asked questions that we definitely want to cover for people who are interested in the Remodel Your Lifestyle program. Rachel kind of covered some of the things, so we won't reiterate those, but just a few unique points. And just a disclaimer, don't get afraid that if you do RYL, you have to come do a presentation. That's just, we chose to do this. So don't think too that if you do the program that you have to do that. And if you have this big fear of public speaking, that's okay. You don't have to do that. So go ahead, sir.
All right, so just, we actually wanted to make this about you guys, or some of you. It's not really about us, but to establish some credibility, we wanted to go over a little bit of what we experienced. So to start, here's us in March. Looking pretty cute overall, you'd have to say, but this is, when you're in Miami, you're gonna feel a little self-conscious, so that was us. We were doing okay, but we were just starting this journey. And then this is us a couple weeks ago, looking pretty svelte, very excellent. And these obscure images you see, so we got 2 car tires here. Apparently that's what we used to walk around with. I was doing some research on common measurements. So about 45 pounds worth of weight within these 2 tires. So we each had a car tire a few months ago. So that's pretty good. And then also a width of a mini fridge, about 19 inches. We used to have extra around our waist, hips and thighs, so got rid of that. So this program works, and we are hoping to get someone to go through this journey next year, kind of like Gretchen, my mentor, who, when I saw her present last year, just really got me motivated to finally step forward and do it. So hopefully we can get someone to do that again.
So frequently asked question we get is, how is your diet going? And diet is, as you hear in all the Pinterest quotes and all the different things that you see all over the place, is that abs start in the kitchen, and that is very true. We can all go work out like 7 days a week, and we don't, Zach and I didn't do that, but we could do that, but ultimately it's going to depend on what you're putting in your body as well. So we did get a lot of help from Janaea and a lot of help from even Janelle on different advice on how to do our healthy eating. As Steve alluded to before, we like to go and have a good time, and we do like to have some drinks on the weekend, so we had to kind of tone that back a little bit and adjust to the food that we ate in addition to that. But those were different things that we learned through the Remodel Your Lifestyle, and what we would encourage other associates to do as well.
Yeah, and Janaea was really good, and this was the part that made me hesitant for years to do this. I don't eat that great, I still don't. But the nice thing about the program, it's not like an all or nothing type of thing. Like, you don't all of a sudden have to stop eating pizza or drinking beer. I wouldn't be here if that were the case. And I don't have to eat like fruit. I still just eat apples, that's about it. We tried, but we failed.
We tried.
But it was really great. She just was a really good resource, and we'd always come with questions. I remember the one that sticks out to me the most is we did a lot of our own research, which is good to kind of educate yourself, but there was a couple weeks where I was afraid of eating any type of meat, because I saw some documentaries that said how it was killing me, and I came in and talked to Janaea about my concern, and she kind of calmed me down, and we found a compromise that I could maybe limit it a little bit, and but still eat meat, and so that was really good. So if she did a really good job of working with me and my limitations, we'll say. All right, so another part that might scare people a lot is, how are you going to exercise for that long? And that's a concern. Here's us. This is actually on our anniversary. This is, just normal activities. So Janelle was kind enough to set up a routine for us, so that was a lot of fun. But that is something for Tiffany more so than me. She has a really busy schedule. It's hard to fit that in. But it's Janelle does a really good job of, working with your goals and tailoring them to what you're trying to do. First, I was trying to lose some weight and then start building some muscle. So it was really fun. We would start every month, kind of redesign the plan and change it. But it's not even just about the exercise. It's about just being active. I had 1 week where I was really frustrated with myself. I only worked out once. That's horrible. That's not good. But then when I thought about it, I worked out one day. I played volleyball. I spent an entire day out in the yard. Another day, and then I kind of thought, wait, I guess I was doing something. So it's not just exercise, and it's changing your activities. Your social activities too. Maybe going out to go bowling. It's not overly strenuous, but you're moving around. Go for a walk, play sports instead of just going, hey, let's go out to eat. We try to limit that as much as we can. Just try to be more active and move around in your everyday life.
And being realistic that it's not going to be conducive to everybody to work out every day, and also trying to find the time that works out best for you, or as doing it as a couple, which was a benefit, was that we would be kind of with our goals working out together, and if we couldn't work out together, we did have our separate schedules, but also that it's a cool thing to be doing this together because we would motivate each other despite the fact that we might have different goals that we're trying to achieve. Do you really need to lose that much weight? So yes, weight is a part of this program, but honestly, it's about this whole well-being again. So as Heather pointed this out before and showed this before, there's all these aspects of wellness that really do matter, and the physical goals that you set are definitely going to be intertwined with all of the other aspects of wellness, particularly with your emotional and your motivation and your spiritual being. So that's extremely important that we touched on all of those points of wellness. And I would say for me personally, although that we had those physical things that did change, more of this was what I needed. And some of that vicarious trauma, as Heather talked about, that was something that I needed, and that was something that probably made the most difference in my goals going forward.
Yeah, it kind of really, going back to Steve's story too, just because you look healthy, there could be other things inside. So I'm trying to improve that, and that we'll eventually eat fruits.
Oh, that's a committee.
So,
Right.
a good comment, that we got, it's really good that we had each other for support, but not, some people might not, which is true, but the joke's on you, because you have, with the RYL, there's a ton of resources. We have Janelle, Janaea, EAP, you have your mentor, Sleep Lab, big time eye opener. We went into that meeting where, yeah, we probably could improve some stuff, and then we left and go, what are we doing? Why are we even sleeping? So, your other RYL participants, we would meet and kind of talk about things and be there for each other, and then also the past RYL participants. So you really have support, even if it's not as formal as we had it, but there's definitely resources, tons of resources. If we're looking at this from a fiscal perspective, this is a really great value. All these resources you get, I wonder how much you would have to pay retail for this. So, I mean, if you're looking for a value, you can't beat RYL.
It's a great opportunity. Look
Buy
at this
now.
commercial right here. He's got it planned. Janelle will set that up, right? Okay. So we will leave you with that. If any of you ever have questions about the journey, and I would recommend that if anyone is interested, if you want to do it as an individual, definitely, but also if you want to do it as a couple, if you do have that ability to do that. Like I said, there's benefits to doing it solo, and there's benefits to doing it together, and so we encourage that anyone who's interested ask more questions from people that have went through the program.
Yeah,
and then,
feel free to ask me. Don't call me, email me.
And the one last point to leave you with is that no matter what, when you go through this journey is that with all the resources that you work with, is that everyone is very supportive and very open-minded, and no one is going to judge you for what different goals that you do set. That was one thing I found very validating in this experience too, is that all of the different past our WHALE participants and all of our mentors and all of our professionals that were involved were very non-judgmental for some of our quirks that Zach and I have, or some of the different things that we were having challenges with. So I appreciate that experience, and for all of you that helped with that on our journey. We still have a journey to go. We still have a lot more goals that we have set, and we will probably always have goals the rest of our lives. And so we'll just take these tools with us. So thank you for your time.